I've been to every city in Mexico. Came across an unclaimed piece of meat in Baja. Turned out to be Rosie. Guess you picked a knife fight with somebody better.
All right, first thing we know, don't end up like Rosie. This video is a response to Gun Collector 007 and a tag that he made to my channel to do a video about knife fighting. Now let me just come off right from the beginning and set your mind at ease. If there's one thing I know a lot about, it's baseball cards. Pre-1996 baseball cards. And knife fighting is pretty much way down the list, right next to vascular surgery. However, I do know some things that kind of make sense if you think about them. So I'm just going to go through a quick list of those. And I brought these here. These are some of my EDCs that I use a lot lately. So I just brought these out here as shining examples of, well, shiny blades. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is, I would say don't underestimate the ability your knife has. And I think if you look back at some of my videos, you can see that if you keep your knife sharp, that any knife can actually end up being a really decent weapon. And I'm gonna pause it here and let y'all watch this clip, this shortened clip of one of my brisket videos. So I'm gonna pause it and then y'all can come back and check this out. A small blade, which I'm gonna start with the Micro Recon here, and then I'm gonna move up to your normal medium-sized EDC blade, the Cold Steel Pro Light, and then I'm gonna go a little more beastly. We're gonna see what the Colossus does. It's just gonna be a quick with the arm. I'm not gonna step into it or anything, just to see what it does. All right, here we go. There we go, look at that. Can you see that? That was just like, I didn't even get a good cut on that. Now this guy's got a nice stitch ready gash. Holy cow. I'm telling you, that's a little bitty knife. That's not even a 2-inch knife. We'll work in this general area for the Pro Light. No, that's my iPod. Oh, I didn't think it'd get that deep with the Pro Light. I was kind of worried about it. Oh, well, maybe I did. Look at that. Holy cow. Alright, got a nice gash working there. Dang. I'm telling you, nice sharp knife. That's not a bad defense. Here we go. The one we've been waiting for. Colossus. I might have to get a new brisket after this. No, give me back my wallet, sir. Oh, all right. I mean, I'm telling you guys, I'm barely touching these things. Look at that, holy cow. Let me turn that around. Look at the gash that thing put on there. That's like 2 inches deep. That was barely anything. So you can see that even a small blade is going to do a serious amount of damage. And what you're looking for in that kind of situation is you're not looking to necessarily decapitate somebody or incapacitate somebody to the point where they're never going to be the same again. But you take that little bitty knife blade and you poke somebody in the cheek with it, or you get them up along the arm and they look down and there's quite a little gash working there. It's going to send a little bit more through their head than if I curl up my chunky fist and start swinging at them. I'm not as young as I used to be. I'm not as strong as I used to be. And while, like a bunch of you, I've had some martial arts training, mostly wushu, kung fu for a couple years, it's about useful as this here. But in a real street fight and something like that where somebody confronts you, I look at it like this. it's like confronting a bully. A lot of times you confront a bully, you punch him on the end of his nose, and he realizes your lunch money is not that important. Well, I think you start pulling out blades like this and a knife in anybody's hands, old person, young sprite-like person, makes that person a little bit scarier. Especially if they have any kind of understanding of what can happen to them. And it's a lot scarier to see this fist than it is just to see this fist. Now, I'm not saying I couldn't bite somebody on the ear or, tickle them on the nose or something, but you pull this out, and especially if somebody is crazy enough to come on in on you and get a little slice on their hand or on their forearm or, God forbid, in the face, it's going to change some people's minds. Now, you have to weigh out the situation. Is it one-on-one? Is the guy a little skinny dude, holding a wine bottle in one hand? Is there really a reason to drag out a face-scarring weapon? But if you got somebody that's crazy, or if you got your family with you, yeah, I would yank any of this out. Unless, if you're carrying a gun, of course I don't know. See, now that's where it gets kind of scary. You pull out a gun in a one-on-one situation, you pull out a knife. Of course, the first thing you do is, and I know this sounds like a chicken thing, and it sounds like your dad talking to you, look for a way out of it. Can you talk your way out? Can you go back in the store? Can you get back in your car? Is there a way to get out of it without violence? And the older I get, that's the way I'm looking for it most of the time. However, in those situations where it's not possible, it's nice to have a little backup on you. And that's where I think knife fighting comes in. And if it's a one-on-two situation, like I said, or if your family's with you, of course, that changes a lot of things, and it's just almost like a do-or-die situation where you don't mind getting hurt yourself, but nobody in your family is going to go away in trouble or in pain. And then you just start throwing down that way. And once again, I'm not some bad, moody super fighter here. But in a situation, you do what you got to do. Okay, so, of course, the guy pulls a gun on you. You give him everything in your pockets, including your knife collection, and tell him to go with God and that you'll be praying for him. But in that situation, of course, don't bring your knife to his gunfight. Now, what I'm going to tell you is I carry knives for a bunch of reasons. I carry them as, backup weapons or whatever. Most of the time I carry them just praying and hoping that somebody says, do you have a knife on you? And I can just start dropping things out of my pocket and my hat and my shirt like Inspector Gadget would. But they also have a lot of usefulness. And if you know what you're doing, even just a little bit, you're going to be more prepared than the next guy. And YouTube, you can learn to do anything on YouTube. You can learn to make knives, you can learn to speak Chinese, play guitar. You can certainly learn enough about how to handle yourself with a knife to make you more skilled than somebody you're going to run into pulling out of a parking lot or going into a building, or even getting out of your car in your driveway. You're gonna find yourself, if you just practice a little bit, you're gonna be better off than the average person is. Because the average person knows about as much about knife fighting as I do about rockets and propulsion and aerodynamics. But you see what I'm saying? So I like to put in some time every day on the punching box. You've seen it. I've got it taped to my punching bag. And even if I just get up there and take some swings at it until my arms get tired, which doesn't take long anymore, I still feel better than I did 10 months ago when I started doing this kind of stuff. And even if you just put 10 minutes a day in, 5 minutes a day, and you're still going to be better off. And it's a good thing. I would just, if you're into knives, and I'm not talking about Steven Seagal, Tommy Lee Jones, Under Siege knife fighting, clink, 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 clink. I'm talking about protecting yourself kind of knife fighting. Because if you get into a situation where you're planning to go to a knife fight, well, that's not realistic. But get to the point where you can pull your knife out smoothly. You can get it open smoothly. It doesn't, you don't have to have a wave system or an automatic. Just get to the point where you can get it open without having to look at it and pull it out with 2 fingers. and then you'll be good to go. And you'll be better off than you are today, and you'll be better off than your opponent, most likely. So it's not a huge deal as far as, like I said, you're going to be running into secret street ninjas. Your knives are just going to be another accessory for you to get to for self-defense. And that's the way you got to look at them. They're tools, obviously, but they're tools for self-defense. You're not carrying a spoon in your pocket. You're not carrying, well, you might be carrying a fidget spinner. I've been known to do that. However, for just to carry your knives, and you have to have those certain parameters in your mind that we talked about, what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. And if you know how you're going to do it and you've practiced how you're going to do it, are you going to come with this grip? Is this grip comfortable for you? Are you going to come with this grip here? You're going to give them a little bit of this number here. Just have that in mind. And it doesn't take a lot. Like I said, if you practiced an hour a week, that's what, 9 minutes a day about, then that's what, 52 hours in a year. And a year from now, you'll have 52 hours of training and knife skills, which puts you way ahead of most people, and it'll make you more confident carrying these. And I know it sounds silly, even at my age, even with my lack of ability, I know that I have more confidence in how to use a knife as far as self-defense than most people I run into. Definitely most people in my family, all of my friends. And that just gives you another thing inside your arsenal to give you confidence, and not just confidence that you can hurt somebody, but confidence that you can talk your way out of a situation. And if you're not able to, then you can back up what you have to do. And I know it sounds kind of serious, but it is kind of serious. All right, so I think just go over the points real quick. Know your parameters beforehand. See your opponent. If he's somebody that you don't need to rearrange his facial features, just don't. If you can get away from it, get away from it. Violence is the answer sometimes, but it's not always the answer. More than one person, yeah, start pulling weapons out. If you're not a gun carrier, pull your knives out and just start getting into a stance, because if you've seen the videos, if it's more than one person coming at you, they're not going to be merciful on you. Just take care of business and get out of there. Do what you got to do to get out of there cleanly. If that means, taking off his nose like Voldemort, well, you got to do it. Do it. Don't, he pulls a gun, and it's just common sense. You don't win that fight no matter what. And don't underestimate your knife. Don't underestimate the ability of your knife to actually get you out of a situation. But make sure you know how to use it and start preparing for that and start practicing. Now, take all this with a grain of salt. I have like 10 months of YouTube knife experience. I've watched some Lynn Thompson. There's an Israeli guy that's awesome. I watched Little Under Siege, some Jackie Chan movies. But just take mine with a grain of salt. This is just my idea, and I would love to hear your idea. Seriously, if you're a Filipino knife master, if on the outside chance that, Doug Marqueta or even Steven Seagal is watching my channel, I would love to hear a comment. And if you have 20 years of experience, 5 years of experience, if you have a year of Filipino knife experience, just let me know down here, and I would love to hear it. I'll pin your comment to the top, and we'll all learn from you, and that would be awesome. However, I'm going to leave you with this. Like here and subscribe here before I leave you this. These are my final 5 rules of knife fighting. Learn these, and you'll be golden.
Dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge.